Hi, lovers and leaders, family. How are you? Welcome to another time with me, Dr. Sarah. So, today I just want to give some brief commentary about a recent interview that Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett did on an MSNBC channel. And the conversation was pretty much about the SNAP program. Some of you know it's the Food Assistance Program, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, right? So it's pretty much food stamps, right? Congressman Jasmine Crockett, she gives her commentary and she pretty much highlights that SNAP isn't the problem. This is some other problems, right? So let's just listen briefly to what she said, and then I'm just going to give some brief commentary. All right, here we go.
When the 42 million Americans who rely on food stamps are going to get them, and 3.5 million people in your state of Texas. So what is your response to Republicans who are saying maybe we should take another look at this program because too many Americans are on SNAP? And what are you hearing from your constituents?
Well, I will tell you this. I will agree with them on one thing. I will agree that there are too many American people that are on SNAP benefits. But that means that you got to not look necessarily at SNAP. You got to look at the reasons that they're on SNAP. We know that over 1/4 of these people that are in receipt of SNAP benefits are actually the working poor in this country, right? We have not increased the minimum wage, and I don't know when, and the minimum wage still sits at $7 while everything else is going up, whether we're talking about the cost of food or whether we're talking about the cost of rent or whether we're talking about the cost to actually try to engage in home ownership, if we're talking about the interest rates. And we know that under the failed leadership of this administration, this country has seen a loss of 1 million jobs, and that's just in the first few months. He's not even had a full year. So no, we need to work on economic policies that will put people into a position in which they are not the working poor, where they are still needing the $6 a day to eat. So yes, we need to talk about it, but I don't think that SNAP is the problem. I think that that is the resolution, or at least that is a symptom of the problem. We have a bigger problem in which we have billionaires that are continuing to rise up every single day and are getting richer and richer, to the extent that there was talk about Elon becoming a trillionaire, the first one in this country or in the world. Yet we still have people that have to go to the food bank and go to work, that have to sit there and go to make sure that they've got money on their SNAP and EBT cards. Like, that's a problem, and I do think that we need to address it.
And you mentioned it's about...
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. She's made some really good points, okay? For example, SNAP, okay, is for the working poor. Like, there is an income limit to actually receive SNAP. So some of you may not even know this, that you do still have to work, right, to get that. She also highlighted the fact that in her state, she's in Texas, the minimum wage is $7 an hour. All right. Now imagine somebody with kids, right? That's not going to be enough necessarily. All right. It's just not going to be enough. So, as I listen to this, and she also mentioned, like, people like Elon Musk, billionaires, right? These folks who are just finding various ways to just, leverage on the weaknesses of low income folks for their own businesses, right? But there's so many things I can say about that. But this is what I will say first. The first thing I hear, just in general, for folks who are always dependent on these government funding programs, right? There's a sense of learned helplessness there, okay? This is maybe very unpopular for some folks to hear this. There's a sense of that I get is a sense of learned helplessness, because she said a lot of Americans are dependent, they're working, but there's also still dependent on these programs. My thing is, how about the people that can't work for mental health issues, physical disability issues, etc., that really need the SNAP program, right? So I want to focus on the folks that can work but are still dependent. So as I was saying, there's a sense of learned helplessness here. And what I mean about that is that this is when people lose, in psychology, this is when people lose agency. They feel this sense of loss of self-control, right? they're in the system where they try to do the right things like work and pay their bills, but they just can't make ends meet. Okay, such as she pointed out that the minimum wage hasn't increased in Texas for a while. So it's $7 an hour. So people are really trying, right? But you've got other areas such as groceries increasing, right? Gas increasing, rent increasing. You've got these investors, such as Elon Musk, coming into certain states, buying up all the properties, okay, and then offering it out to renters, but renters that are willing to pay high rent that these $7 an hour folks on SNAP can't afford. All right, and then they end up in Section 8. And I know this because I provide free counseling services for folks in homeless shelters where I am here in New Jersey. So I'm just like, there is this consistent cycle, and I'm going to also shift responsibility to the person that's wanting this assistance, and also shift responsibility to government. What they're doing is, like, in other words, just continue allowing it. It's like this vicious cycle of okay, we'll keep helping you just by giving you the money, and that person, the recipient's just constantly depending on it. So there's it's almost like this subtle way of saying to the recipient, you can't do this without us. So this is the government responsibility I'm talking about. You're saying to the recipient, yeah, we're gonna give you this because you can't do this without us. You can't do life without us. And folks that have been in this line of receiving SNAP, EBT for years upon years, generation upon generation, they have literally just been conditioned to not have agency. They've been conditioned. And I would say, as an industrial organizational psychology, what is the government doing in terms of those people that can work, in terms of building up skills to potentially be more marketable in the workplace? I don't care if the government can will have to even pay for like certification programs, for these folks to get educated, to be upskilled. If you can use money, governmental money, billions of dollars, to give snaps, okay, why can't you use that same money and invest in these human capital and make sure they're upskilled? Why can't you use that money, and with the people, especially the people that are registered to receive SNAP, it should be part of the requirement, all right, to be upskilled, to be more marketable. It should be really part of the requirement to have a lot of this education in emotional intelligence and resilience building skills. This is what I offer to some of the clients in the homeless shelters, because some of these folks, to be fair, have had some workplace trauma, they just don't want to be amongst people in the workplace. They just don't want to be around people. They have jobs for like maybe 3 months, 6 months, and they leave. They can't keep a job because they're missing some soft skills. They don't know how to oftentimes emotionally regulate. But also, I also believe is that there's this learned helplessness that they believe the government is always going to be there to help them. So literally, it's the recipient and the government just creating this vicious cycle. And it's not all the recipients, because I'm sure, and I've come across clients, recipients of SNAP and EBT, they are doing their darnest to be better. But it's not really a requirement from the government. I really do believe if you really want to get these people out of the cycle of SNAP, EBT, and spending billions of the economy on this, you need to be able to strengthen their agency. You need to create this awakening within them that they can do this without governmental assistance. All right? And to Congresswoman's point about Texas, $7 an hour, that hasn't changed for God knows how long. Why in the world is it just why hasn't that changed? People need to live. And that's another thing. You see the system? The system again, all right, is not helping and still practically putting that glass ceiling further down on people's head. Yeah, it can try to work, but you can't get out of this system that you're in. I personally think it's a setup. It's a setup. So government of the United States of America, you're willing to spend $5 billion, $8 billion on giving these vouchers for them to buy food to supplement their income, but you can't work with certain small businesses, medium-sized businesses or large size businesses and create a program with incentive to the business to say, you know what, these folks on the SNAP lineup, can you hire them? I don't care for an X amount of time. And there should be some stipulations for the SNAP hirees. For example, you gotta, retain your job for 1 to 2 years, for example, or more. All right. And if you don't, there's going to be some, consequences of receiving SNAP. It's all psychology. You've got to build these people up. Government. All right. Recipients of SNAP, you can't keep relying on government assistance. See, some people think like jobs is modern day slavery. Unpopular opinion, but I'm sure some of you actually agree, is that even receiving these fundings is another form of slavery. Keeping cost of living, for example, in Texas, $7 an hour is a modern form of slavery. Not increasing it. It's a modern form of slavery to keep certain folks down. But let's keep it 100%. I'm sure there are many other people in Texas that are way above $7 an hour. They have agency. So the question is, the people on SNAP, all right, there's a psychological issue here. And I'm sure there's programs that are addressing it, but I don't know for sure if there are psychological programs to help people have agency that are mandatory on these SNAP programs. And I can understand the burden of trying to do that because there's so many people on it, right? But it needs to happen at some point. There needs to be some reinforcements and some encouragement and intrinsic courage for people to get off SNAP, okay? And say, I can do this. I can get above this. But they do need encouragement, like increasing cost of, like increasing the hourly wage, like putting some reinforcements around this SNAP, like partnering with these businesses to release jobs to these folks on SNAP so they can get off it. All right? Because like she said, there's a lot of, we've got a lot of job loss this year, 2025, and even 2024. The government in the whole of the United States of America, you have all that money there to give out for food, but you can't use that money to create structures, to create jobs. You don't have ideas enough to create organizations and have these good people to work. I don't want to make any assumptions, but I kind of did already. All right? This system has been going on for a long time. And those of you that don't work, but you can work, and you want to go for handouts, hey, this is another type of slavery. It's another type of slavery. That's all I have to say on that, really, because the numbers are staggering, the number of Americans working poor on SNAP. SNAP, I agree with her, is not just the problem. It's this economic cycle. It's the rich getting richer. How are they getting richer? Do your research. It's people in government, okay, these public servants, not coming up with enough ideas to use their money, that capital, to create businesses, all right, to put your folks who are on SNAP lineup to work, all right? To have that sense of positive self-identity again, to have some level of purpose in life, to get over this slave mentality. You're not doing that enough. And if you are doing, I'm sure you're doing this whole rigmarole of, oh, you got to sign up, you got to sign up for a grant to get grant money, and then you do the business. Okay, cool. But how about you use those billions of dollars, okay, and establish good organizations to start enrolling people for real, to get working. Talk to these big corporations to create a pipeline for these SNAP workers. How about that? And give these corporations incentive. I don't care if it's some kind of tax relief. Do it. The level of money used to give out food and job losses, low minimum wage, and these rich people are still getting rich? How? But anyway, aside from the government, aside from the rich folks, I'm going to talk to some of you who are recipients of SNAP, or thinking to be a recipient of SNAP, or know somebody recipient of SNAP. You're being caught up in a system to keep you down. Don't think you're like, oh my God, yeah, I'm entitled to this. They should give me this. You're being enslaved. They give you one food check, give you another. You're getting very comfortable. Now your brain says, I don't have to do nothing. Let me get the most, the least job, because I know the government's going to feed me. These other folks who are working are going to use their tax dollars to feed me. But yet, when I look at you and I think of you, you are also made with everything you can possibly do to make a name for yourself, to do something meaningful for your life. Those people that are working jobs, for example, multiple jobs or over $7 an hour jobs, or deciding to upskill or shift careers, do they have 3 heads? No, they have 1 head like you and me. And they've just said to themselves, yeah, no, I'm going to have agency. I'm going to have control over my life. I'm not going to keep falling into the same cycle of learning helplessness. Because that's what's happening to a lot of folks in America and other nations too, that are dependent on these type of food checks. There's a learned helplessness. And if you don't break out of it and see it for what it is, because yes, I agree, there are certain things in this country and other countries where like you're trying your best to get over the hump, but then they increase something here, increase something there, and you feel like you can't get ends to meet. I get it. Yes, it's a system. It's psychological warfare. Yeah, I can help you snap, but I can't help you increase your financial acumen. I can't teach you. I can't help provide you some free mental health services. And it's for it to be a requirement. I can't, the government's like, I can't provide you with those, programs for you to really break out of a false identity. But I can give you some money for food. God help us. It makes me almost want to cry. There's a lot of people being conditioned to be helpless and to be dependent on others. And you know what happens when you're dependent on others? You're under their control. You're under their control. Your destiny now becomes in their hand. Yeah, think about that. Yeah, this one's a tough one for me because I can go deeper, but I'm going to let this go for now. if any of you have some ideas how to deal with this SNAP issue, whether governmentally, whether the recipients, let us know in the comment section. You know, here we lovers as well as leaders, all right? And we need more leaders that can think outside the box. And we need more leaders who are courageous to say the truth. And we need more leaders that truly care for humanity and not care about controlling a segment of people. Okay? Let us know in the comment section if you have ideas to provide to the government. Okay? Or just any commentary in general. I'd love to know, really. If you are on SNAP, let me know what that's like. How did you get there? You know, what resources do you need? Until next time, please share this video with someone that may need to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like what you heard or appreciate what you heard, don't forget to give me a free like. All right? I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now. Be blessed.